Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Jack Reynolds. I'll be helping to moderate today's webinar. With me is Tom Niejadlik, VinSolutions Performance Manager, and Mike Shean, Senior Manager of Product Management. Today, Tom and Mike are going to talk about how to create the marketing experience your customers expect using VinSolutions Automotive Marketing Platform, or AMP. A few housekeeping items before we get started. All attendees have been muted, but if you do have questions throughout the presentation, please put them in the GoTo console on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll take 10 to 15 minutes at the end for questions, and we will also be sending a recording of this presentation after the webinar. Tom and Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Good afternoon or good morning, depending on what coast you're on. My name is Tom Niejadlik. As Jack said, I'm a Senior Performance Manager with the team, and today Mike and I are going to dive into AMP for you. And Mike's going to talk a little bit more about the technical side of AMP, and why we brought it to market, what we thought it would provide for dealers. And both of us are going to talk about the benefits of a fully integrated marketing program. We're going to introduce to you a new role that we created specifically for AMP. And finally, we're going to show you how you can have some accountability from your marketing spend using this tool. Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. And just want to thank everybody who's taking time out of their day to come learn about, how we're thinking about marketing, and we're very excited about this new product and the potential to continue to make our dealers more successful in their businesses. And as we look at, what we see in the marketplace around automotive retail marketing, we see that dealers struggle transitioning into what all of us as consumers expect in 2022. And we see that customers are disengaged because the generic marketing, it's irrelevant, and we expect better today as consumers with the digital experiences that powerhouses like Amazon and Microsoft and Google provide, that we expect you to know something about us, and we expect you to have messages that make sense together. And many of our dealers struggle with multiple platforms that are disconnected, that are potentially branding your dealership in a different way, sometimes so much so that the customer wouldn't even know it was the same dealership other than your logo at the top, because the creative and the verbiage is so much different. And we also know that it's a struggle to be able to have that holistic picture of a consumer. What are they looking at? Where are they at in their buying journey? Because consumers expect you to meet them where they are in their journey. No longer is it effective to say, we want to sell trucks, so we're going to try to, force everybody to look at trucks, right? People are individualized, and there's a new level of expectation. And as we go ahead and jump forward here, we look at what capabilities are available, what products are available to dealers. And one of the key things that we see is that there's a lack of CRM integrations. Your marketing systems don't know what your sales staff is doing. They don't know, your marketing system can't react to how your customers are interacting with your staff. And in many cases, your staff doesn't know what your marketing tools are doing. And this ends up in conversations where a customer says, oh, you sent me this offer, and your salesperson or BD agent says, what offer? They're just not aware of what's happening. And we've solved that through world-class integration with the VinSolutions CRM. And then a key thing from Cox Automotive that many competitors struggle with is being able to paint that picture across devices. We all use multiple devices. We've got our laptop and our phone and our desktop and potentially our work computer versus our home computer, maybe multiple phones and tablets. And when you only look at one of those devices, you're only getting part of the picture. And Cox Automotive has world-class proprietary technology that allows us to pull that picture together across devices in the household, so that we know Mike's work phone is the same person as Mike's desktop computer because we're seeing that internet access from the same physical location. So really trying to bring all of this integration together to help solve problems. And so the next step that we talk about here is what we've built to address these problems, how we're going to create and generate relevant communications so that you don't have disjointed messaging, you don't have multiple platforms marketing in different ways that your staff doesn't see about. And we want to make this all extremely visible and integrated with your CRM, because the CRM is the heart of the dealership, especially in the front end, in the sales end, right? This is where all of your staff works every day. This is where you work your leads. And for you to be presented properly to your consumers and to drive engagement, you need to have that consistency across your products. So when we look forward here, Tom, we start talking about the data, and we start talking about proprietary things that only Cox Automotive can do. And we own Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book. We have the data, and we know that 2 out of 3 people who buy a car in America are shopping on Auto Trader or Kelley Blue Book. We know when your consumers are online, we know what they're doing, and we're able to create meaningful insights. So we see 2 out of 3 people who buy a car, and what do we do with that data? And as we look forward here to the DriveQ consumer buying signals, you've heard of this before if you're familiar with VinSolutions. These are our consumer insights. These also power VinSolutions automotive intelligence insights. And AMP is going to automate activity off of these data points. When we know somebody is ready to buy, when we say they're ready to buy, we're able to track that against sales transactions, and we know they're 15 times more likely to actually buy a car. And when we say they're ready to buy a car, 90% of the time, we predicted what brand they were going to buy. And about a little over half of the time, we not only said what brand they're going to buy, we were able to accurately say what model they're going to buy. And that's going to be central in everything you hear today, so that we make sure that we're engaging customers with vehicles, with offers that are relevant to what they're interested in and what they're shopping for online. And you're going to hear that a lot today. But what are we going to do, right? So we've got this data, we know what they're doing, we see it across their household, we know what they're interested in. Now we've got to use the right channel to communicate with that customer on a one-to-one basis, so that that personalized message is reaching the intended audience, it's reaching them in a relevant way, and that you are appearing consistent across all of the digital and physical noise that we live in today. As you see all these emails we get, all of this marketing and ads that we see, you know, you've got to touch a customer multiple times on multiple channels with consistency and relevance to drive your desired outcome of, come on in and talk to us about buying a car. Hey, you're in equity. Hey, we think we could lower your payment. Hey, we want to buy your car because we're trying to get inventory anywhere. And those are the key things that you're going to see us display today with this product for why we've built it, which is to engage your consumers with relevance and get you to where you're best, right? And Tom and I, you know, we talked as we were preparing, thinking about our experiences in dealerships, and really what we're trying to do is drive them to your doorstep, either your digital doorstep or your physical doorstep, to do what you do best, which is work the customer and try to close deals. And so when we think about an experience, we take the data to drive it, and now we partner with you to say, what do you want to happen? So this is an actively shopping customer example. This could be a person with equity. This could be a person off of lease. This could be a person due for service. And we'll take what we know from that browsing history, and maybe we say, hey, if we can't email them, let's send them a direct mail, and a personalized piece of direct mail. You'll see more about that in a minute. Or we want to hit them with a piece of direct mail, and we want to hit them with an email. And we can have those conversations to make decisions about what you want that experience to look like. I want them to get a piece of mail. I want them to get a piece of email. And then if they open that email, I want to follow up with a text message. Or maybe if they don't, I want to send another email. And so there's a lot of if this, then that customization that goes into this product so that you're creating those experiences. And then at the end there, you see CRM task created. That is putting it in front of your staff in the CRM with full visibility of what we've done in an automated fashion so that we've got extremely warm, hot leads for your staff to work. And so that's kind of the intro crash course of what we've built and why we've built it. So jumping forward, Tom will talk a little bit about how we've integrated this.
So yeah, Mike gets to talk about all the techie stuff, and I'm on the call here to kind of give it a performance management. What's it really like in your dealership and how you guys can use this. So I want you to think about this from your own store's perspective for a second and ask yourself, what does your digital road to the sale look like and what that customer's experience is? And when I said digital road to the sale, some of you might have thought, okay, they submit an internet lead and we respond to that internet lead. I'm asking you to think a little bit broader. Your digital road to the sale includes your marketing. And Mike touched on that, but I'm just kind of putting it into a different perspective. Mike and I were at NADA last month and met with one of my accounts, a larger dealer group, and they happen to be on X-Time. And I meet with this dealer group once a month. They've got 7 stores, and I know that they've been pretty happy with X-Time. So I was kind of surprised to see them walk in the booth and say, tell us about AMP. And one of the things that I heard from this dealer right off the bat was 2 platforms. It's causing issues in my store, and I hadn't heard that yet from one of my own stores. And what he said was, you know, it's difficult enough getting a salesperson to put good notes in the CRM and log their calls and do their tasks, and now you give them a secondary platform that they also have to log calls on and you know, do tasks in, and the quality of data that you're capturing drops on both of those platforms. Now, they had seen some decent results from Auto Alert, but one thing that came up was he said, you know, we bring that customer to the point where they're interested and they want to engage with us, and they submit an internet lead, and it goes right back to my BDC, who doesn't see the notes because they're not in the CRM. And what kind of experience is that giving the customer? That's what I'm asking you, and that's what the dealer was complaining about, was everybody's not talking to each other. And I think AMP solves that with our integration. You know, everything that you need to deal with in AMP is right in the CRM. So let's pick up right where that customer left off. And you know, thinking back to my time in a sales department, managing a small little Volvo store here in Portland, Maine, you know, I would try anything and everything. I would do direct mail. I would play around with some TV ads, and I would do different kinds of email blasts using like MailChimp and Constant Contact, some of those different sources. And sure enough, every month, end of the month, my boss would come down and put the bill on my desk and say, how did this work for you? Did you sell any cars? And I would scratch my head and say, I think so. You know, I think we sold more cars. We saw a little bit of a bump in traffic, and unfortunately, I just wasn't being held accountable for my marketing. And on the same level, I wasn't holding my sales staff accountable for doing any sort of follow-up on the marketing that I was doing. And it was no fault of their own. They didn't know. They didn't see. There was no direct correlation with who walked in because they saw a TV ad, or, you know, unless they were bringing in that direct mail piece to wave it in their face, we didn't know that stuff was working. And I think that's what AMP is here to solve. So hopefully everyone's familiar with their performance manager. And just so you're aware, Cox Automotive invests heavily in performance management. We believe in it, and it's something that sets us apart from our competition. As a performance manager, I get on those monthly calls with the dealer, and we talk about the CRM, and my goal is to help you improve utilization and therefore improve sales. Well, AMP, it's not just another add-on product to your CRM. It's a fully functioning marketing tool. And to that extent, we created an entire team to work this tool called Marketing Services. And in fact, each AMP account is assigned a dedicated marketing account manager. And we hired professional marketing experienced marketing professionals to work with you, the dealer, and get the most results out of this system. So remember when I said I was responsible for trying marketing, different marketing pieces in my store? Well, I wasn't an expert. So that's what we're trying to solve here, is we're giving you an expert in their field to work with you just the same way a performance manager does to help you get the most from this tool. They're going to do deep dives into the CRM, and they're going to be the ones that are operating it for you.
Yeah, and one of the really exciting things about the marketing account managers here is that they have access to our system as a whole. So they have access to the performance across. And as we look at these next points here, that they are experienced, and then we are staying up to speed with what are the best practices in automotive marketing, and running multivariant tests, an A/B test, here's version A, and how does that convert for you versus version B? And we're doing that across all of our accounts and reapplying the goodness and the best practices that we find. You'll hear us talk a little bit about a white paper that we created after a lot of research in Q4 of last year. So again, partnering with that performance manager to manage your CRM, having that marketing account manager who's really an expert on the marketing side, and bringing that together again to create that customer experience. And it's about that partnership between people like Tom and those marketing account managers.
And you're going to hear me talk about my time in the store because it's relevant. I think one of the best things about AMP is not only do you have somebody that's doing all the heavy lifting for you and building out all of these campaigns, but back in my days, a vendor would come in and show me something new and shiny, and I'd sign up for it. And I don't know about you guys, but I always had some software that I didn't get around to using, and 6 months later I'd end up canceling it. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen with AMP, and that's where the performance manager comes in, and your marketing account manager. You're going to be working with them. We're going to be making sure that this is working for you. And really the only thing that we're asking of you, the dealer, is 30 minutes a month. Get on a call, have good engagement, have conversation with them. That's what they're there to do. And understand that these marketing account managers, yes, they're professionals, but they've never sold a car in your city, in your state, to your customers. So that communication, that feedback is going to help them, and they're going to try to schedule monthly calls with you. And it's important to take note, they won't launch any campaigns unless you've approved. So we need your cooperation in order to make this work. So now I'm going to talk about some stuff that really sounds performance management type conversations. These are conversations that I have every day with my stores, and when you're talking about AMP, these things become even more important. So the first one on the screen is data capture, and what it comes down to is the more buttoned up your CRM is, the better results you're going to have with this AMP tool. So let's talk about that a little bit. Performance managers, when we get on our calls, we're talking about things like email capture, scanned licenses, what's your text message opt-in rate. Those are all important just if you're using the CRM, but when you take the next step to AMP, those things become even more important. So make sure that you're on top of those things and ask your performance manager to show you where you stand, if this is something you're really considering. Another really important one, DMS to CRM matching. If you're not familiar with that term, I suggest you take a look at it, ask your PM. But as a PM, we get tired of talking about it because it's so common in so many of our stores. We need that DMS sold record to match to that customer record in the CRM so we know who that customer is. And AMP needs that sold record to match so it can do proper marketing. And if the dealership has a problem with that, it's really something that you're going to want to address before moving forward with a tool like this. Another area is duplicates. I think every store that I've ever talked to has had a conversation with me about duplicate customers, and that's just not a VinSolutions thing. That's a industry-wide thing. Dealers stay busy, they do their jobs every day, but they don't always pay attention or as much attention as they should to creating duplicate customers. To that extent, we created a piece of software on the back end that we call historical record matching. And before every one of these AMP accounts launches, we will run this historical record matching and try to clean up a lot of your duplicates. Now, it doesn't solve all of your problems, but it goes a long way in helping. It's going to merge quite a few of them, but at the store level, you still need to have a really concrete process in place to handle duplication. Dealership buy-in, getting everybody involved. You know, does your staff know what your marketing efforts look like this month? I suggest, you know, including them in those conversations, showing them examples of what the marketing looks like, having a talk track prepared so when someone does call you and they respond to a marketing piece, and the salesperson is going to be able to see right in their CRM that, yes, this customer opened this message and this customer is now inquiring about this message. You know, having a talk track prepared is going to help the customer experience when you actually do get to talk to that customer. Accountability. Again, another big cornerstone of our CRM is accountability, and we do that through tasks. And AMP piggybacks on top of the tasks that are already in the CRM to include your sales staff in what's going on with your marketing. So if you have a problem with tasks already, you're going to see some more in there. So it's one of those areas that we always talk about. We always, performance managers are always trying to get their dealers to do a better job modifying and customizing their processes and giving a good balance to the number of tasks that are firing. Are those tasks attainable? And it becomes even more important with AMP because I think these AMP tasks are different. They're going to be important. They might be the most important task that salesperson completes that day because you're talking about a customer that's now engaging. They're further down that road to the sale. And how you handle that from that point forward really means a lot. So your marketing should elevate your customer's experience and also your brand. You're probably looking at this email on my screen right now, and yes, this is an actual example of an email that I took from one of my own stores. So cross my fingers that dealer's not on this call today. But yeah, that's what dealers are capable of sending out to their customers. And I mean, it's funny to look at, but you know, what does that do for your customer experience? Does that actually raise the brand awareness? Does that get the customer involved? And I mean, we see things like this all the time. We actually talked about how many examples we could show in this presentation, but we dialed it back a little bit just to kind of make a point. But broken links, jumbled text, formatting that's all off, missing photos. We see all of that. And if you're leaving your marketing up to your sales managers, just like I was responsible for that when I was in the store and I was not an expert, you know, this is an example of what your stores are capable of sending out. And we really want to avoid that, and we really want to elevate your game. So here's an example, a real example of what an email would look like in AMP. And this is what we would be sending to your customers. And notice that it's personalized, it's relevant, it mentions the customer's trade-in, and there's an actual offer on the actual car that customer is interested in. And we're starting with email right now because email's still pretty important. We've got some other communication channels in there, but that marketing study that Mike talked about, it says that 50% of consumers are still interested in receiving information via email. Notice I said receiving information. I didn't say communicating. So email is still a very important channel. So think back to those housekeeping items that I was just talking about on that prior slide. The data capture. How long have you been letting your staff get away with not entering an email address or entering an incorrect, a fake email address, none@noemail.com? Those are all things that you've got direct control over, and they're going to help you get more out of AMP if you decide to go with to move forward with it. You'll notice this.
Sorry, Tom. Yeah, there's
this template designed and created with OEM colors and fonts. It looks professional and it's customizable. You can work with your account manager to customize this many different ways, and it's optimized for mobile viewing, and it looks just as good on a desktop. Mike?
Yeah, it's just so many points here. Thinking about email marketing and my time as well in a dealership, and I got pretty good at creating audiences, but I was never good at HTML email design, responsive email design so that the email looks great on a desktop as well as mobile. And these are the things that, we've got a whole design team that designs these emails, and then your marketing account manager will work with you to personalize them to your dealership so it's got your brand standards, your logos, your color scheme. And again, the personalization Tom was talking about, one of the key things here is that offer, and this is an automated offer. We've got a part of our system called automated offers that takes what we know about a customer and matches them to the most relevant vehicle from your inventory. And now in this example, we show upgrade your Honda Civic, and we're trying to sell a Honda Civic. But this can also be driven off of that consumer browsing history, what we see consumers doing on Auto Trader, on Kelley Blue Book, and if you have a dealer.com site, your dealer.com website. And we take all of that to say, this is what we think the customer's most interested in, and we match that to your inventory. We match it to available incentives, rebates, lease offers, whatever makes sense for that consumer. And we put that to, you can come in at this personalized payment and make this offer to a consumer. And thinking about the car and how, the story I just told you, there's a very personal story that I tell when I think about this almost every time, because I've got two kids. My son just turned 6. My daughter's about to turn 3. I drive a Toyota Camry. I've had it for about 5 years now. And I'm at the point as a family, we need a minivan. We're looking at minivans or large SUVs. But this is where we start to think about changing that mindset. Are you marketing to who Mike was 3 years ago, 5 years ago when I bought that car? Because most of our systems and most of what we've done over the years is take what they own, match it to a new version of what they own, and try to sell them a new version of exactly what they own. But we all know that's not really our customers. That's not really people's lives. People's lives change. And what we can do is we can take what we see them doing online. We see them browsing what they're looking at. And if you looked at my personal browsing history, you'd see that I'm looking at Toyota Siennas, I'm looking at Kia Carnivals, I'm looking at Town and Countries, I'm looking at Expeditions. I'm considering anything that's the right size for my family. But if you just took what you knew about me 3 to 5 years ago, you'd totally miss the mark. And I'm not even interested in a sedan. And so that's how we can take not only the data that we keep talking about and that behavior, but making it real and relevant for your store so that you're showing up the best way with best practices on each channel. And Tom, we're going to talk a little bit more here about the other channels.
And I think that's really important, Mike, what you said. Our competition only focuses on what you bought 2-3 years ago, and it tries to present another offer like that. I've got text messaging up on the screen here, and I'm sure there's some dealers in the audience that have perked up a little bit, and you're all excited for this. We've been hearing about this for years, and our dealers have wanted this. Well, yes, it's here, and just because we can do text message blasts doesn't mean you should. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. Well, first of all, it's text messaging, and looking back at that email, you notice that this text message has a similar look and feel, same colors. It's personalized. It's to the customer. But understand, we're in a time where email was really beat to death. Everybody is so familiar with getting tons of email in their inbox that's just spam, and it's just delete, delete, delete. Text messaging is different, and we know that it's the best way to communicate with a customer right now. So by blasting customers, you're going to be hurting that database. You don't want to hurt that channel and that way to communicate with customers. Also, text messaging is very personal. Unlike email, like I said, you see tons of different spam in your inbox every day. Text message, you get that on your phone, and you're opening that and you're reading that message. So if you lose that customer and you're sending irrelevant generic messaging and you're doing quote unquote text blasts, you're going to be hurting the most effective way that you can communicate with a customer these days. So be careful with text messaging, but we do think it's very useful within our workflows. And you might have seen that on one of those earlier slides where, when a customer engages or clicks into an email, that's where we can take the next step and send them a text message, because we know that message is going to be really relevant. Again, looking back at some of those housekeeping items that I call them, just back to your basic CRM. Are we doing, do we have a good opt-in process? Are we monitoring that? Are real simple, are salespeople texting through their own mobile devices, or are they doing it through the CRM? All of those things that your performance managers talk about, they become even more important now that we add this channel as available to market to. So, setting the stage for success, not only do we have to do a good job opting in our customers, but also look at, think about the activity that you're going to see once you turn this channel on. If you've got a 3,000 text message limit per month, this is going to blow right past that. So we do require that you have an unlimited multimedia text message program within your CRM to do text message marketing. But also, right on your main screen, you'll see key performance indicators and unanswered communications. I really hope that that's something that you're looking at, because once you start text messaging, you're going to see a major jump in something as simple as that. And you need to have some processes in place to be able to monitor that.
Yeah, lots of great points there, Tom. And white paper we talk about, you're going to see statistics in there. We know that 90% of texts are read, and 98% of those are read within the first 3 minutes of being sent. Right? If we think about ourselves, just think about yourself as a person, how attached we all are to our phones, and text message is right there. So it's not about whether we're going to get the customer. You're going to get your message to them, but it better be relevant. And then what's that experience like? You can see on the left, we've got a call to action, but many of our competitors do offer text messaging. All of these replies go straight into your CRM. So you've got accountability, you got visibility, right? You don't have salespeople on the side, but even worse with marketing systems that are sending out texts. What does that customer reply look like? What other systems do you need to monitor versus Tom's my salesperson, I get an automated text, I reply and say, wow, like to come down and talk about this. Who's responding? Well, in this, it's integrated straight into Vin. Tom, my salesperson, is going to get that alert so that he can just start that conversation straight through the CRM, and you as a management staff have visibility, reporting, and accountability to all of those conversations.
Good points. So here are some additional channels that AMP is able to utilize: direct mail and Facebook and Instagram marketing. And you'll notice on these examples, same look, same feel, relevant message, very personalized. And if you're anything like me, you're thinking that direct mail went out of style 15 years ago. Well, it did. It took maybe a little bit of a dip in popularity, but again, for the same reason that text messaging is such a great way to communicate with customers, because we overdid it with email. Same thing with direct mail. It's making a comeback, and it's actually a really strong channel that you can market to. You'll notice there's a QR code on that direct mail piece, so customers can scan that, and you can link them back to wherever you want. Either a landing page or another page on your website. And just want to mention that Facebook and direct mail are a subscription-based service. So you pick a budget, and you pay for the number of impressions that you want to make in Facebook or Instagram, or the number of mail pieces that you want to send out. Mike, can you talk to some of the results that we're seeing with direct mail?
Yeah,
And Facebook?
We're seeing great results with direct mail. The leading demographic that direct mail is effective with is millennials, which is the opposite of what I thought going into this research. But just think about yourselves, think about what you see. I don't get 20 pieces of mail a day anymore, right? I get a few pieces of mail. And so, you've got the time between when I get it out of the mailbox to when I get to my recycling bin in my kitchen, right? For me to look through that, and I'm deciding what's going to stay and what's going to go. And maybe it's going to go, right? A lot of times it is going to go in the recycling bin, but I looked at it, and that's different than email, right? Email, you've got the subject line, and I've got to click on it to see your message. And again, this personalization, I'm not sending you a key saying, come on down and see if this starts the car. We are talking about individualized one-to-one direct mail that we are kicking off automatically. So we've targeted this customer. We can hit them with an email, a text, and a direct mail that are all leading to the same place, that all have the same branding. So I can send them a piece of mail, hit them the next day with an email and or a text. And now as a consumer, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We see that brand recognition is higher on a physical impression. People are more likely to remember your brand after a physical interaction versus a digital interaction or an email. Facebook marketing, we take targeted lists of customers and we say, Facebook, go target these people. And you can tell us, do you want to do new car? Do you want to do used car? And Facebook will serve those kind of unintrusive, branding ads. So I'm sitting on the couch scrolling through my feed. All of a sudden I see Shean Motors, and I can scroll through your inventory right on my Facebook feed. And I could go on and on, Tom. I know we're getting close on time, but sure. Very exciting, and we do have some results to share if you're interested in more information.
This is one of my favorite parts of AMP, and if you subscribe to dealer.com, you've got a dealer.com website. You've heard us talk about personalization. Well, it doesn't get any more personalized with this. Any link that someone can click on a digital ad piece that they receive can link them back to a personalized dealer.com landing page, and you can see same look, same feel, calls that customer out. But most importantly, it gives them a couple extra steps that they can take in the buying process. And we've talked about the digital road to the sale and consumers wanting to do more online before they have to go into the store. And digital retailing has become a big part of that for a lot of consumers. And here you go. You can see on this particular example, there's a calculate my payment button that links that customer right into digital retailing. So, now your marketing is providing them with more information and bringing them further down that sales funnel, and it's enhancing the customer experience.
Yeah, and a lot of what we see is, good quality offers that link to contact us forms that ask the customer to fill out their information again, which is just another point of friction and drop off for the consumer.
So we've done the marketing, and now we've engaged with that consumer, and we've like I said, we've brought them further down the sales funnel. What's next? Well, at any point in the workflow, you have the choice to put an actionable task in that workflow, where that's going to loop your salesperson back into the conversation. They're going to be able to see what kind of marketing the customer received, what the exact marketing piece was that they responded to. It makes me think back to another thing that PMs talk about all the time, and email read alerts. When we look at somebody's task page and they just have hundreds of overdue tasks, a lot of times we go in there and they're email read alerts, which tell us that we just don't really care about email read alerts. Well, I personally think that they get a lot more important when we're talking about our marketing and accountability and knowing if my marketing is working. So that email read alert is an important piece, and it's going to fire a lot in the CRM. So just be aware of that. Also, in the workflow process, you can have the AMP tool create a lead in the CRM whenever you would like. That's another big important piece of this tool, because that lead could very well be the hottest lead that salesperson sees today, and they need to know how to respond to it, because it's a little bit different than your typical sales lead. Again, it's a customer that's a little further down the funnel. We want to be able to pick up that conversation right where that customer left off, not start them back at the beginning. You picked a great car, it's going to look great in your driveway, when can you come in and see it? Let's pick up that conversation where that customer was, and really deliver a better experience. Just a couple more slides here. Performance and ROI tracking. This is more accountability, and I talked about how I wasn't being held accountable in my store for spending the dealership's dollars on random advertising. Well, I think one of the highlights of the system is what you're looking at. This is an example of the AMP marketing dashboard, and it's found in our insights tool within VinSolutions. And this is a place where the dealer or anybody that has access to reporting and insights, they can stay involved with what's going on with your marketing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. You can see your results, the number of customers you marketed to, open rates, the tasks that have been assigned to your sales staff, and probably most importantly, the sales influence, the sales that we see that were influenced, and the profit that we think was influenced by our marketing. So we have a growing number of OEMs that have approved AMP for some level of co-op funds. Please get with your performance manager for the most up-to-date list. And the winner is.
Yeah,
Mike
we're
Shean.
happy and proud, and just excited to receive Brian Pash's Pash Consulting Group AWA Award for marketing automation. This was presented to us last month. So just some good recognition of the power of all of what we brought to market.
So here's an action plan for you. You've sat through this presentation. You're interested in AMP at this point in time. I would ask you to go back to your store and evaluate your own digital road to the sale and try to put it in the customer's perspective, what that looks like as a customer. Also want to remind you that every CRM comes with a survey tool, so you can use your own VinSolutions CRM to maybe do a marketing survey to your customers. Ask some real straight questions and say, did you buy these cars, and did you see our marketing? Did our marketing help? Figure out if your road to the sale is actually leading customers to the sale and to the car that they're looking for. Number two, CRM utilization. And this is where your performance manager comes in. have some questions with your staff and some of the items that I highlighted in here, like DMS to CRM match and email or text message opt-in rates. Go back and look at your store and see if you're actually ready for something like this. I mentioned earlier on that a buttoned up CRM is going to have a much better experience using AMP. And if you're ready to simplify your marketing, get with your performance manager. You can also put your name down in the chat, and your performance manager can help you get to the next steps, put you in touch with someone from sales. We'd love to have more dealers on this tool. It's been a real hit for us, a real success, and we invite everybody to partake in that success. Finally, the Cox Automotive Consumer Marketing Study. That's a study that we did not only for ourselves, but for also for you, the dealers. And even if you're not interested in AMP, there's some good information about marketing to your customers in today's world. So put your name down in the chat and say that you'd like us to send that to you, and we will definitely email you a copy of that. So that's it for today. Let's open this up to some questions.
All right, thank you both. Before we get into questions, I want to remind everybody, in case you joined late, that you can enter your questions in the GoToWebinar console window on the right-hand side of your screen. We have had a few come in already, so we can dive into those. First one here, does AMP replace X-Time Invite?
So,
Mike, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, so X-Time Invite is our world-class service marketing tool offered to X-Time dealers. So Invite has a lot of integrations with the X-Time spectrum of products that AMP cannot replace. AMP can do some, hey, who's due for service? When's the last time we saw you in for service? Remind you 6 months later. You bought a car, we can remind you when we think you're due for service. We can do service never sold, trying to upgrade customers or get vehicle acquisition campaigns. X-Time Invite is really focused on driving more retention in your service departments through rich integrations with X-Time. One of the key differences is declined services. X-Time knows what you inspected that car with and what you made as an additional service recommendation, and has the ability to discount that in a one-to-one basis. X-Time Invite also has the ability to do personalized service scheduling links, and looking at capacity planning, as well as service promotion. So all of those things I just mentioned, AMP cannot do. So if you really want world-class service marketing, Invite is Cox Automotive's answer. And if you want world-class sales marketing, that is what VinSolutions AMP is doing today.
And you can run both of them at the same time, and AMP can be adjusted to work with X-Time, meaning not marketing to the same customers twice.
Absolutely. Good call, Tom. Thank you.
All right, next question here. Let's see. This is a question about texting in the CRM. Can salespeople download it on their phones so they can reply to texts from their cell phones, or do they have to be at a desktop or laptop to use it?
Absolutely. They can reply to a text or an email on the mobile app, whether the email or text is from AMP or it's from some other customer that's in any sort of process. So it fully integrated with the mobile app and the desktop.
Thanks, Tom. Next one here. How does AMP's automated offer determine which vehicle to select?
Oh, that's my favorite question.
Alley, Mike.
Yeah, I love that one. So we do a couple of things. The first thing we do is, what do we know about this customer? Do we have any browsing history for this customer on what they've been shopping for online? Are buying signals powered by DriveQ? DriveQ, for many of you, this is the first time hearing that. DriveQ is the new branding for Cox Automotive data insights, and that is powered off of AutoTrader, Kelley Blue Book, and dealer.com browsing. And so we look at that activity and we look across multiple devices and we distill it down to, we think Mike's interested in a Toyota Sienna or a minivan. Then we will take that and match that to your most relevant piece of inventory. So if you're a Toyota dealer and you have a Sienna, we'll match there. Could be a new Sienna, could be a used Sienna based on your inventory and what the customer's looking at. If you're not a Toyota store, let's say you're a Honda store, we would match to an Odyssey. Or if you're a Ford store, we might match to an Expedition because that's the closest thing on your inventory that matches. If we don't have browsing history for that customer, then we will take what they currently own, whether that's what they brought in for service or what you've sold them in the past, and we will match off of that to the nearest piece of inventory to make that automated offer. And again, we do support used car offers, which I know is a differentiator, especially with the inventory shortage. We can help you move used cars, and you have some control in that as you work with your marketing services, your marketing account manager.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Let's see here. Do I need to purchase AI for AMP to work?
I'll take that one. AI and AMP are two separate programs. Automotive Intelligence obviously uses buying signals to inform you what your customers are looking at. And the buying signals that are part of AI are also being used in AMP. So you don't actually need to have both products. AMP will use the buying signals from Automotive Intelligence, whether you purchase Automotive Intelligence or not.
And just to add a bit there, Tom, you know, AI has separate value and visibility in the CRM. So AI allows your staff to see those buying signals. AI allows you to see that sentiment of communications. So was it a positive interaction for the consumer, potentially negative, and allows you to really have that reporting and accountability on those buying signals for your staff versus, as Tom said, AMP will automatically pull that data in and execute messages, but you need AI to be able to see all of that for your staff, all those buying signals in the CRM.
Okay, let's see. Next one here. What is the AMP workflow compared to Auto Alert for generate offer to service customers on the service drive?
That's a good one. So being able to generate offers for service customers on the service drive can go a couple of different ways. So the first way that we look at that is we're bringing in your service appointments. So every customer who has an upcoming service appointment, which I believe for most of you is the majority of your major services, right? You're not having people walking in for, you know, all new brakes and tires just from a walk-in. That's typically we're seeing being scheduled ahead of time. And so we're able to know who's going to come into your service department, and we're able to not only remind them of that appointment, but also to plant the seed as part of that reminder. So we could send a text that says, hey, Tom, so excited to see you. Your service appointment's tomorrow at this time. And by the way, we'd love to buy your car, or we'd love to put you in a new car, and we can change that language. Also hit them with that email with the same messaging before they come in. Once they come into your service drive, VinSolutions has, depending on your DMS provider, an open RO alert that can tell you that this customer arrived on your service drive. But we could also, as part of that service appointment process, send a task or a ping to whoever you choose, whether that's a salesperson or someone specialized, to say, go talk to this customer, they're on the service drive, and they will be able to, in the CRM, see that offer that we made to that customer.
Okay, we have another one that mentions auto alert here, so apologies if we're kind of overlapping. But this question is, how does AMP compare to TPP, Auto Alert, and Automotive Mastermind?
That is a very long answer to that question. TPP, for those who don't know, is Target Pro Plus. AMP is going to use a lot more automated data integration than Target Pro Plus does. Target Pro Plus does not do texting or direct mail, it's only email. And Target Pro Plus does not do one-to-one offers, and I'll clarify that. For the Auto Alert and Automotive Mastermind competitive lineup, you know, we can take some questions offline. I know we're gonna have some questions we don't get to, and that's definitely a good conversation for our sales department. But when I talk about Target Pro Plus is take this offer to a audience. So you pick the car you're gonna sell, and then you pick the audience, and you make that offer to everyone. And we apply the equity to say, here's what your deal could be on this car that we picked. The converse of that is AMP. AMP takes the customer first, and we pick the offer based on the customer versus taking the offer first and applying the audience to it. And all of this is happening one-to-one automatically versus someone at Cox Automotive executing these larger campaigns for you. And there's a bit of nuance there, but we could certainly, if whoever asked that wants to follow up, we'd be happy to engage with you on that.
All right, thanks, Mike. I will say we're just about out of time here, so if I notice there are some remaining questions in the chat, we'll be sure to reach out to you all with answers to those. Thank you both for an informative session. I certainly hope everyone found today helpful. As always, we appreciate your attendance and encourage you to reach out to our team with any additional questions you might have. We'll be sending a recording of this presentation to all attendees after as well. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.